If the Ford Ranger is such an awesome truck, why is the Toyota Tacoma still number one? Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive. You know, I've been getting a lot of comments on the channel about how great the Ford Ranger is, and everybody anticipating the Ranger Raptor coming out. But I've been thinking, hey, if the Ford Ranger is such a great truck, why is the Toyota Tacoma number one? I've had Fords in the past. I even had a Ranger. Granted, it was about 400 years ago, so it's really not a fair comparison to what's out there today. But I have to say, it was a dog. It was a dog back then, and it's a dog today, at least a couple of years ago. There was an event a couple of years ago where they offered all the different Ford trim levels, the different vehicles that you could come and drive. And I did, because the Ranger was relatively new at that point, might have been about 4 years ago. So I went and I drove one, and I have to say I was unimpressed. I had high expectations. You see, I thought I might actually get a Ford Ranger. This is before I really got into the Tacoma so much. So I went with open eyes. No expectations, and I thought, it's got to be a great truck. Ford had just re-entered the market with the Ranger, and I thought, certainly it's going to be awesome, right? So I jump in, and we take off in this truck, and I thought, it's gutless. It really did feel gutless. I expected more. Looking at the interior back then, it was very industrial, very pedestrian, very plain. And I thought, Ford is coming back into the market. Certainly they're going to come out with a truck that really wows everybody, right? It's their opportunity to grab the number one spot from Toyota. Again, I really hadn't gotten into Toyotas yet, and I thought I might actually get the Ford. So I was driving down the road. It was gutless. I nailed it, and it took off a little bit. And then that was about it. There was nothing left. It was rough, it was bouncy, I could feel the bed articulating in the back. It just reminded me of Ford trucks from the past. I've also had a couple of F-150s. They were dogs. Bad transmissions, weird, quirky problems. I was really unimpressed. Then I went home and I jumped back in a Toyota Tacoma. I got one not long after that. And I have to say, I never looked back. I never once regretted getting the Toyota Tacoma after experiencing the Ford Ranger. Now, in all fairness, there was one thing that I really liked where I think the Ford Ranger is superior, at least that year, to the Toyota Tacoma. And that was door shut. What do I mean, door shut? I mean, when I shut the door, it had that little thump, that little sound. Really reminded me of what more high-end sports cars sound like. It was really cool, and it was enough that I did it a couple of times, and it still holds an impression for me years later. Like I said, it's been probably about 4 years since I test drove that thing, and it still resonates with me how awesome the doors sounded. Crazy thing, I know, but hey, it's the only thing that I really liked about the Ford Ranger. So why do we have people getting on the channel, my channel, and talking about the Ford Ranger? And one thing that I find very amusing, people get on and they'll dog the Toyota Tacoma. Frankly, I doubt if they even have one, but they'll dog the Toyota Tacoma. They've got one and they hate it. Worst truck they ever had. And I get to thinking, well, didn't you test drive it? I mean, there's a million of them out there. Certainly you could have found one to test drive before you went in and bought it, even in this market, where a lot of times you kind of have to commit and take one out of allocation. Certainly they had that opportunity. And even if they didn't, if I went into a dealership, had to put down some sort of a deposit, jumped in the truck, took it for a test drive and hated it, I think I would lose that deposit before I spent the 30-some, 40,000, whatever dollars on a truck that I absolutely hated. So I think there's a little bit of a nefarious motivation behind these people. I think there are two things. One, they have Toyota Tacoma envy. I think they may have bought the Ford Ranger. They may not be happy with it. So to make themselves feel better, they go out to places like my channel and dog the Toyota Tacoma because deep down, they really want one. They're trying to make themselves believe that it's as bad as they try to say it is. And it certainly is not. Secondly, are politically motivated folks. The folks that either work for the other companies, maybe they build these other trucks, the Ford Ranger, or maybe they're in management, something like that. And what they're trying to do is produce negative publicity on a channel that has a relatively large number of subscribers. We've got 32,000 subscribers on this channel. I realize it's not 32 million, but it's that sweet spot where there's enough people on there that will see their comments so they feel that they can get on and dog the Toyota Tacoma to try to change people's views, to try to make their products look better. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense to me why you go out and you get on a channel that you supposedly are unhappy with the product, or you don't have one at all. I mean, I'm not the manufacturer, right? I had somebody recently, and I'm not going to give names because I don't want to give them the publicity that they're probably looking for. But they even tried to say that there was some sort of a connection between my channel and Tacoma World. There is no connection between me and Tacoma World. None whatsoever. They were really reaching on that one, trying to say that whenever they tried to start a discussion, and by the way, you don't start a discussion by putting an inflammatory comment out there. You're putting something out there to just cause conflict. You're trolling, in other words. But anyway, they tried to accuse me of having some connection, I guess, and a reason for why they had been kicked off of Tacoma World. I'm sure it's quite obvious to them why they were kicked off, because they were probably making comments that they knew would get them there, and probably trying to do the same on my channel. They try to push the envelope until they get kicked off, which I don't typically do unless things become belligerent or just outright hateful, I suppose. But anyway, I just wanted to get on here and talk about that a bit. You know, the Ford Ranger, from my experience, isn't even any competition for the Toyota Tacoma. I think there's probably a lot of people that go out, they buy the Ford Ranger because they fall victim to the hype. I mean, let's face it, Ford has a huge marketing presence behind their products. They are number one in the full-size market. But I think they go out, they pick up a Ford Ranger, realize how inferior it is, wish they had had a Toyota Tacoma, and probably, in the end, buy one. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. How does the Ford Ranger compare to the Toyota Tacoma? And be honest. I want facts. I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Robmotive JT, all about Jeep Gladiators, and Robmotive MT, all about mini trucks or compact trucks. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.